Okay. Okay, I can do that. This is just for the free. You don't have any shots of Aaron or anything. Okay. Okay.
This afternoon, we are going to hear the candidates discuss their visions for on various topics, including Medicaid, property taxes, cryptocurrency, and the role of the state in Southern Illinois infrastructure and economic development. Candidates this afternoon are John Stewart,
time to go look at YouTube right now and check the search for Metro East Libertarians. You'll see that we're live, and share that link. We ran into a couple problems there at the end.
Aaron, your mic's good. John, can we get a check from you?
Yes, hello.
Thank you. Matt, check.
Check, check. 1, 2.
Yours is not on.
Back on the top here. It's
check, check, check. 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 All right, we're good.
Cash?
You guys are beautiful.
Thank you, gentlemen.
all right, to start the debate, what we're going to do is we're going to do 90-second opening statements for each candidate, and the first candidate is going to be John.
I'm going to have to do this. Bear with my laryngitis. I still think I should have showed up with a biohazard containment suit on and talked to a mic. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Metro East Libertarians. Such a pleasure being down here in the summertime. And recently, 2 weeks ago, always enjoy you folks. You're as hospitable as anybody comes, and I appreciate it. Thank you for Southwestern Illinois College, too, for having us. I wanted to start off talking about the last debate that we were in and actually offer you all an apology. I was told that, do I have 1 minute now? Okay. I was told that I came across at times a little angry. And I wanted to offer my apologies, and I wanted to also, even though I didn't name call, apologize to my 2 candidates because I consider them my friends, and if they took any umbrage at it, I apologize. But I'm a passionate guy. That was that my way in football and pro wrestling. what you saw at the last debate was not anger, it was my passion. And when I see liberty attacked, and when I see liberty coming under the weight of beliefs that we do not hold true as libertarians, I do get a little angry. And I do get a little frustration. It's not bitterness. It's frustration and it's passion. And the first question of the last debate, and I'm not going to go into it, was would we let the federal government take over Illinois State's finances? And I heard on video and going back to it that they would consider it. And I felt that the Libertarian movement, which is one of the biggest platforms, is anti-federal government, was taking a hit. And I reacted. And I apologize for that, and I apologize to my opponents. You deserve a little bit better than that, but again, it's that passion that I think you'll see. It's the passion that's going to win in November, and I hope you remember that. Thank you. And thank you to my opponents. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, John. Next is Matt.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much. First off, I want to say thank you to the Southwestern Illinois College for hosting this wonderful event. Thank you to the Metro East Libertarians for getting this organized. Thank you to especially Aaron Wright, our moderator, who had a big hand in getting this all set up, and also to Ryan Mahoney. Ryan Mahoney also put me up last night. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. All across the state of Illinois, as I've been traveling, going to chapters, to meetups, to events, I have felt so welcomed by all of you, and it's just so comforting, especially to be in a room of like-minded individuals who believe in freedom. This is a huge election, not only for the Libertarian Party, but for the state of Illinois and for our nation. It's going to be the largest gubernatorial election in history. The Democrats are having a very contested race. The Republicans are also, and here we are, three wonderful candidates standing in front of you, vying for your nomination. I hope that you have a difficult choice on March 3rd, and I do hope that you choose me. Now, whoever the candidate is, whoever you choose, we have a lot of work ahead of us. If I earn this nomination on March 3rd, I may celebrate for about an hour, but after that, it's time to get down to work. Tonight, I want to make a pledge to you. If I earn the nomination, I will get bare minimum 1,500 petition signatures. I hope you choose me March 3rd. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Matt. And then finally, Cash.
Just want to say thank you guys so much for coming out on a balmy Saturday afternoon to join us here for the second annual Libertarian debate. My name is Cash Jackson. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I'm a father. I'm a patriot. And I'm a proud Libertarian. What do I like to do? I want you guys to know a little bit something about myself. I like country music. I like classic rock. I like cowboy boots. I like cold beer. And I love the damn Constitution. You can go ahead and laugh. Go ahead. Some of my hobbies include I like to bow hunt. I like to shoot guns, of course. We had a great fundraiser here not too long ago. And so I enjoy the Second Amendment very much. And I love to spend time with my children. Those are my passions. But more than anything, I'm passionate about liberty and freedom. I spent 20 years of my life serving in capacity all around the world, anywhere from inside the United States submarine to training the future of the United States Navy to doing classified operations, conducting undersea research and development. My life has been nothing but fighting for freedom in this country. I aim to continue that endeavor here in the state of Illinois. I aim to continue to fight for you and your families. I'm proud to stand alongside two wonderful men up here who love freedom and liberty as much as I do. And today we're going to demonstrate to you that we all love the Illinois Party, we love the state of Illinois, and we want to do what's best by you. I hope to be your candidate on March 3rd. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and let's get the show on the road.
All right, thank you. So that's going to bring us into the first round of questioning. We're going to have 3 questions that are all going to be 3-minute answers. So these are kind of larger questions. Then we're going to have 2 shorter questions followed by a 10-minute intermission. All right. So the first question, we're going to start with John again. The Trump administration and DHS has recently indicated that they are open to granting Medicaid waivers to states, potentially allowing true entitlement reform for the first time in decades. If elected, would you instruct the Illinois Department of Public Health to submit a Medicaid waiver application, what would be some reforms you'd wish to see in the application? You have 3 minutes.
No, I wouldn't, because I don't want the federal government involved in any way, shape, or form in the state of Illinois. Bottom line. Look, I told everybody I'm a compassionate libertarian. And I believe that for emergency services, yeah, you keep the hospitals open for people that are here undocumented. That's just, you don't want people dying on the streets. But as far as giving them Medicaid, not gonna happen. I mean, we're libertarians, you know, everyone's gotta stand on their own 2 feet. And I believe that that's the case with immigrants in this country. They have taxed, literally and figuratively, the system in California, medical and educational system, so bad that California is following Illinois in near bankruptcy. They don't pay into the system, they don't pay the FICA taxes, they don't pay the state taxes, but they use all the services. And I have a problem with that. You know, you have to pay your way. That's the libertarian credo. There is no free lunch, right? And again, so other than emergency services, I do not want the federal government anywhere near the state finances and healthcare program. And we have to curb the fraud, especially here in Illinois. And those who are on the rolls, we need to do the RED, which is a redetermination of who really needs it. Maybe there's people on the rolls of Medicaid that could afford $50 to $75 to pay in a little bit to that fund, to take a break off of it. Also, too, I also believe that we should sidestep the federal government, and as a state, try and buy medication from Canada in bulk. I mean, states' rights, we can do whatever we want, really. So that is how you're going to cure Medicaid, which is, you know, Matt and I have talked about this a bunch of times. It's, you know, you got the pensions, that's destroying the state financially, and right beneath that is the second red-headed stepchild is Medicare and Medicaid, state Medicare and state Medicaid. And we need to fix that. And I've given you some solutions to fix that. It's been done in other states, and it's working. It will work here in Illinois, but you need a governor with the guts and the moxie and the plan to take care of it, and we will, and I will. Thank you.
All right, Matt, of course, you're next. Same question.
Medicaid is the single largest expenditure for the state of Illinois. We spend $1.2 billion every month on Medicaid. Now, it's a difficult topic. I'd have to read the legislation that's being proposed by the federal government, by Donald Trump and DHS, I believe you said, Aaron. I haven't read it. I'm open to it. I'm definitely open to it. I'd like to hear what they have to say. It's difficult for me to say that the federal government should not be involved. The federal government is currently involved in Medicaid. Medicaid is jointly funded by the state and the federal government. Now, a big problem with Medicaid happened under Pat Quinn's tenure. Pat Quinn signed Medicaid expansion under Obamacare. That drastically increased the cost for the state of Illinois, and it's hurting people. Medicaid was created so that the poor, so that the handicapped, and that single mothers and children could get medical coverage. Today, it's being used essentially as a universal health care coverage in the state of Illinois. Prior to Pat Quinn signing that into law, 1 in 5 people were eligible for Medicaid. Now it's 1 in 3. That's unsustainable for the state of Illinois. So what are the implications? The implications are people are dying on the waiting list. Let me repeat that. People are dying while they wait to get coverage from the state of Illinois. Doctors are not getting paid. When they submit Medicaid claims, a lot of times it's taking up to a year for them to get reimbursed for that. And many doctors don't want to accept it. So we have a situation here. Either we're going to reform Medicaid or we're going to lose it altogether. And I don't want to see that happen. Because if that happens, a lot of people are going to get hurt. We need to have some sensible policies for Medicaid and our health care in the state of Illinois. Thank you.
All right, and now, same question, Cash.
That's correct. Annually, last year, I believe that the state of Illinois expended nearly $25 billion in Medicaid and Medicare. Let me preface everything else with saying that medical coverage is not a right. We do not have a right to medical coverage. As much as we would like for that to be the case, it is not. Because if it is, then we need to prioritize what it is to have a right in Illinois. We've got over 1,000 veterans living on the street in Chicago alone. Do they not have a right to a home after they fought for this country? We've got thousands of men, women, and children living on the streets. Yet, do we hear any argument about a right to food or clean drinking water or shelter for them? No, we do not. Demanding a right to health care is demanding the right to somebody else's services and their labor. And that is fundamentally un-American and un-libertarian. I am a compassionate man. There is nothing that I will not do for my neighbor or my friends. But currently, we are placing this burden on the expense of every other taxpayer in Illinois. We have to find viable solutions. Exactly what that looks like, I don't entirely know. I'm not a medical insurance expert, but we have experts. We have people that are trained in these fields. What I do know are the basic principles and tenets of individual liberty and property rights. We have a right to our government protecting us. We have a right to be able to raise our families free of intervention from the states, but we don't have a right to health coverage. What we must look at, or why is healthcare so expensive? We have to reduce healthcare costs. We have to make it competitive. To make it competitive, we must get the government out of the business of medical services. From subsidizing it, doing backdoor deals with pharmaceutical companies, with insurance companies, they have driven the cost to exorbitant levels, and it's unaffordable by Illinois citizens. We need private competition from the private industry. We need to cut the regulation. We must also look very strongly at tort reform within medical insurance. Over 42% of cases involve an attorney. Over 42%. Driving up the cost significantly for us, the taxpayers. Again, attorneys have made it profitable to look to another field such as medical services and profit from it. It's unacceptable. We must have tort reform. We must get the government out of the business of medical services. We must bolster the private industry. And personally, I would like to see a lot more emphasis placed on homeopathic remedies. Bring it back to Mother Earth. We don't need pharmaceuticals being pumped into us. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Except my blood pressure medication.
Okay. So the second question, we're going to start with Matt. Illinois has over 6,000 separate taxing units, more than any state in the nation. In addition to 284 municipalities, the metropolitan Chicago region encompasses in total more than 1,226 local governments. This is in contrast to the New York metropolitan area, which has fewer than 200. Do you believe that this allows for closer local representation or additional government waste? Would you encourage the General Assembly to allow county governments to dissolve local jurisdictions?
Oh yeah. Definitely the latter. Certainly that's government waste. And that doesn't even count the close to 800 different school districts that we have in the state of Illinois. We can consolidate a number of those as well. Illinois has the most overlapping levels of government in the nation. And it's part of what's bankrupting us. Because all of those units of government all have administrations, they all have HR departments, and you know what? A lot of them are getting six-figure salaries, and when they retire, they're going to get six-figure pensions averaging over $2 million over the lifetime of their pension. Yeah, that's something that we definitely need to address, and that's something that I've commented on many times. It actually helps the individual cities if we allow there to be more localized government. In almost every case, I will support a more localized government. I don't like the idea of the federal government having too much power. I'd rather see that power ceded down to the state. And once it's ceded down to the state, let's cede it down to the county. And once it's ceded down to the county, let's go right down to the city. Because in the end, what we believe is an individual liberty, right? So yes, there are far, far too many overlapping units of government. I would definitely support that initiative if it were to be presented. I hope that the General Assembly will actually listen to this and do that. That's a wonderful idea, Aaron. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Next is Cash.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Matt more. 7,000 units of local government, absolutely insane. And with it goes the significant bloat to pay for these exorbitant pension plans, to pay for the health care, to pay for the benefits. All of this, nothing is free in life. It's all placed upon the back and the labor of the men and women who work to serve the state every single day. It's you and your families who carry that burden, not these legislators. They could care less. I also agree with Matt in the context that I would like to see less government and intrusion from the federal government. I want that power and authority shifted back into the states. And as well, I would like to see where the state cedes some of that power back down to the local authorities. But at reasonable levels, at reasonable costs. Nothing that Illinois is currently doing is reasonable. And I think that we're kind of seeing a change in that where we see so many members of the General Assembly fleeing their offices, not seeking re-election. They know that they've screwed up big time. And it's hurting their constituents. It's hurting us and our families. I don't make six figures a year. I don't think many of you in here make six figures a year. The average salary in the state of Illinois is $59,000. You're telling me that the legislators that we elect to represent us are better than the average citizen? I don't think so. Every single legislator in this state should make no more than $59,000. We should end all of the special committees and the stipends that they get. It shouldn't be a pay-to-play atmosphere. And the status quo continuing on and on. We have to end that. Shrink big government. When we shrink our large government, we shrink our expenditures. When we shrink our expenditures, we put more money back into the taxpayer's pocket, and with it we can build our economy, we can build our private sector back to a respectable level. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cash. All right, John, same question.
It was a great moment at the Peoria chapter meeting 5-6 months ago. We talked about, I think Bennett can remember, we talked about townships. Wow, up where Cash lives, even kind of where I live. Township commissioner, 2.7 miles of road he oversees. He makes $137,000 a year. He employs 3 of his family members for 2.7 miles of road. That's staggering. The townships do nothing, really. They claim they do the schools, but really that's the school board of the school district. So how do you stop it? It's not only the 7,000 taxing bodies, it's the message that we send throughout America and throughout the people in Illinois. That we just will not and cannot stop the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. I've said it since '97, since I've been a candidate for elected office. Line item veto for the governor. Simple. Down the budget, line item, line by line, vetoing each expenditure. Getting rid of the townships, consolidating the school boards. And with the school boards, the only way to handcuff the school board is to regulate and cap real estate taxes. I've talked about this since February. We need a 1% cap on real estate taxes. That is going to handcuff the school boards. It's going to handcuff the townships that take that money and spend it. And that is how we start getting down our deficit, getting down the waste and the fraud and the abuse. It's true. Anybody will tell you that's in government. Once you start to get over 200,000 people in your city, that's when the wheels start to fall off the train. The employees that sit in the corner and don't do anything. The guy that hurt his knee at the softball game but claims he fell off a truck. Come on. That stuff has to stop. And when you empower the legislature, when the governor goes down the budget line by line, and again handcuffs the legislature, handcuffs the townships and the school boards, that is how you are going to see our budget get in line and our budget come into fiscal responsibility, which we don't have. We have to start at the townships and the school boards, and the only way to do that is to handcuff them. And the biggest way to do that is capping the real estate taxes at 1%. Make them based on an actual figure, not a guess by the county assessor.
All right, thank you, John.
Can I get a 30-second rebuttal?
I don't know if we want to do 30-second rebuttals during the long answer.
It's actually not a rebuttal. I just wanted to make a quick comment, if that's all right. I'm going to do it anyway. I just wanted to say that the McLean County chapter is working on breaking down, I believe, the election commission in your town, if I'm correct, and I just wanted to applaud them on that. That is one step in the right direction. That is one step to surgically extracting the malignant growth which we call Illinois government. Keep it up, guys.
All right, that's a good point. Let's get away with that. Okay, third question starts with cash this time. While Illinois' business environment is poor, one area of strength is our infrastructure and role as a transportation hub with our waterways, highways, and rail. However, this system is crumbling. What role does the government play in transportation, and what would your initiatives be?
Well, up to this juncture, governments play a significant role. And is it no surprise that transportation is crumbling right along with the rest of the state? It comes from an ineffective leadership that currently is at the helm. It comes from an ineffective General Assembly, and it comes from special interest groups where we are spending significant amounts of money to cater to a minority of the populace to the detriment of the rest of the state. Government does play a role right now. And I'm realistic, but I'm optimistic, but I'm realistic. We're not just going to eliminate government. I'm not an anarchist. I believe that some form of minimal government is fine. But the private industry is where
get that fixed and to get the funds allocated to fix that. And that is the way we are going to service the people in this state and make this state a continued viable a hub for businesses and corporations around the world to come here.
All right, thank you. And now Matt.
Aaron, would you mind repeating the question for me?
Absolutely. While Illinois' business environment is poor, one area of strength is our infrastructure and role as a transportation hub with waterways, highways, and rail. However, this system is crumbling. What role does the government play in transportation, and what would your initiatives be?
The government's role in transportation needs to change. Right now, Illinois Department of Transportation is a festering wound in the state of Illinois. I mean, they are just sucking money out of us. They have so many regulations on what companies can bid on contracts. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's crony capitalism defined. I live in Chicago. The I-90, which is one of the main thoroughfares that running through Chicago. I'm 35 years old. I will put my hand in a Bible and tell you that I've never driven that without seeing a yellow cone. All right? It's absolutely ridiculous that we cannot complete projects. I came down here on a train yesterday on the Amtrak, and I had a chance to talk to one of the workers there. He said he'd worked on the rail for 20 years. He tells me that the rail industry makes absolutely no money, that they have to be subsidized by the government. That's the only way that they can survive. I think we need to do things to support that type of transportation. Our rivers used to be a major hub. Obviously, the Mississippi River, the Ohio River, these were main thoroughfares for shipping lanes. And a lot of communities, now that we are not using them quite as often, are being devastated by that. Cairo is a great example, Metropolis as well. So we need to do whatever we can to allow the private sector to flourish. And I think a lot of that is getting rid of a lot of the regulation that is burdening these types of companies. I think that if we open up the free market and allow more companies to bid on projects, we will be able to get a higher quality of completion and a lower cost. That is what I propose.
All right, thank you, Matt. That ends the 3-minute questions. That brings us to the second part of the debate where each answer will be 2 minutes. These are a little bit, not as quite broad questions. We are running a little bit ahead on time as well, so we might do a couple additional questions before we take the intermission. All right, first question. We're going to start with John. We are starting to see state Democrats and even some Republicans warm up to the idea of recreational marijuana, mainly as a way to help solve budgetary issues. However, the Department of Justice has recently announced they will be less friendly to state-level legalization measures. Do you believe that this is a federal or state issue, and as governor, would you instruct your government to defy federal law?
Absolutely. I find it funny that Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, has many interests in prisons, and all of a sudden when he sees states start to legalize marijuana, all of a sudden he comes up with a measure to curb free-flowing sale and distribution and growing of marijuana. I've said it before, I've said it in jokes, and I've said it in jest, that the sale, distribution, the growing of marijuana in the state of Illinois is one of the major ways that we are going to cure our budget problem. It's going to bring in $225 to $400 million in additional tax revenue. Decriminalizing it is going to free up the jail cells, making it less expensive to operate the jails and the prisons of the state of Illinois. Simple. What else is it going to do? Decriminalizing marijuana is also going to help one of the issues that I'm very dear to my heart, which is the genocide that's been happening on the south and west sides of Chicago. Because 75% of the gangs, the gang crime and the gang selling over there has to do with marijuana. You are going to solve so many issues. So what I'd like the federal government to do is make it legal federally, but we have a states' rights. We can do whatever we want. And I say, the first day of office, I am going to legalize marijuana. I'm going to decriminalize it. I'm going to make it retroactive. We are going to clean out the prisons of nonviolent criminals and anything to do with any kind of marijuana, any marijuana infringement or any kind of marijuana problem that they went to jail for. And that is going to solve a huge problem in this state, and it is going to help our budget. But we have to have the conviction, the moral conviction. And I find it funny that the Libertarians took the charge on this issue, and now we see Pritzker holding up signs for legalized marijuana. I congratulate everyone, us on the stage. We have changed the direction of the Illinois governor's race. That's something you should be proud of.
I absolutely support defying the federal government when it comes to marijuana and frankly any other drug laws. Jeff Sessions is a psychopath, and I don't care what he says. We are going to listen to the Constitution of the United States of America, and the 10th Amendment says that we have that right, and the federal government does not have that right. They have no right to impose that on us. There is no victim in a marijuana charge. Therefore, it's not a crime. We need to stop saying victimless crime. It's an oxymoron. Absolutely, I want to see marijuana fully legalized in the state of Illinois. Now, where I differ with my opponents is that both Cash and John have expressed their feelings that marijuana is a solution to the budgetary crisis, that we need to put taxes and regulation on marijuana. I want marijuana legal with no additional taxes or regulation. Allow it to be taxed like any other product, a basic consumption tax. I do not support sin taxes. The more we tax a product that is illegal, the more likely people will go to a black market solution, and inherent in black markets are violence. So, I support full marijuana legalization and treating it like any other property that citizens want to hold. Now, furthermore, I think I've talked about this in my last debate, but allowing farmers in southern Illinois to grow cannabis, to grow hemp, is a massive opportunity. We will be the first state in the nation that's going to allow that to happen on a massive scale without massive federal oversight and regulation. We could literally put millions, if not billions of dollars into farmers' pockets. And I would rather see that money going into their pockets than I would these malevolent Illinois Springfield bureaucrats who are just going to waste it. So let's go ahead and help out the farmers down in southern Illinois. Let's help out you folks, and let's make sure that we stop filling these jails with victims of non-crimes.
Can I just say one thing since my name was mentioned? The only tax I had mentioned since February on marijuana is if you want to open up a storefront and you want to sell it, you're going to have to just pay the sales tax. You can grow it in your yard, sell it, distribute it, but if you want to do a storefront, that's where the sales tax is going to come from. So, just wanted to thank you.
All right, I should have mentioned we will do 30-second rebuttals if you are mentioned during by another candidate's answer. Okay, it's been a long time. Cash, same question to you, sir.
To be fair, it is an issue in which Illinois voters, to make it palatable to them, I have stood behind the position of taxing. What the libertarian side of me says is that, number one, the federal government has no business regulating this. The Drug Enforcement Agency has no business regulating this because it's not a drug. By its very existence, it's a plant. It is not a drug. The DEA has no place in enforcing something that is not a drug. They have no place in enforcing something and labeling it a Schedule I substance when it's never killed anybody. And it is a great agricultural opportunity. Absolutely it is. We've got over 270 million acres of agricultural land in the state of Illinois. The average farm here is over 380 acres. The ability to use hemp in industrial and textile to replace petroleum products, we create industry, we create jobs. We don't need to tax it if we can create the jobs because we'll bring people in, we will bring industry in, we will bring the revenue in. I would rather not tax it. But to get people out of prison and to quit arresting people for something that's not a crime, yeah, to make it palatable, to get it through to voters more quickly, yeah, I would do that. Because I want freedom and I want liberty, and I don't want men and women who serve this country or otherwise going to jail, sitting behind bars, being separated from their families for something that's not a crime. And they didn't harm anybody. Whether that's a soldier who struggles with PTSD, or if that's an 18-year-old kid who just wants to get stoned, I don't care. Either way, I don't want either one of them behind bars. And I don't want children growing up without their parents so that Jeff Sessions can profit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next question. We're going to start with Matt. Recognizing that the majority of violent crime in the state is largely isolated to a few areas of Chicago and East St. Louis, the rest of the state seems to be needlessly punished with some of the most strict gun laws in the country. Is making Illinois more friendly to gun owners something on your agenda? If so, what are your priorities?
Of course. I fully support the Second Amendment. Furthermore, I will pardon anyone who is arrested and convicted of a nonviolent, gun-related charge. We have a permit process for the Second Amendment, right? And it's located in the Constitution. All you need to do is go and buy it. You should not have to petition the government. Yes, anyone should be allowed to own a firearm, with some exceptions. However, the main cause of the problems in East St. Louis and in the west side of Chicago are directly related to the drug war. And the drug war is a failure. The drugs won. Let's get over it. We need to legalize all drugs in the state of Illinois. We, especially in Chicago, should have learned the lessons of prohibition. When there is a substance that is illegal and there is massive market demand for said substance, people will sell it, and there will be violence to enforce the territories around those. We absolutely have to legalize drugs. If we do that, we will not have nearly the types of problems with the violence that we have currently today. So what happens is that in a lot of these impoverished communities, people want to be entrepreneurs. They see the guy down the block driving the Mercedes-Benz. And how did he get that Mercedes-Benz? He sold drugs. And I know I don't advocate for drug use. I don't smoke pot. I don't even drink alcohol. I think that that's horrible. But we need to allow these people to sell that if that's what they want. Because if we have police going into these communities and arresting their sons, their brothers, their fathers, we are destroying the social structure. We are destroying the family unit. And it's a cyclical system. And it's only going to change if we end the drug war. So I believe that by ending the drug war, we will see less violence from gang-on-gang violence, and we will also see less violence from gang-on-police. I know this sounds controversial, but if you look back to Chicago and what happened with the Prohibition, we should learn the lesson. In the 1920s, people were driving around shooting each other with Tommy guns because alcohol was illegal. In Portugal right now, violence has dropped. Deaths have dropped. We need to end the drug war. Legalize drugs, and you will not see nearly the amount of violence. But yes, I totally support any and all rights that the people have pertain within the Second Amendment to carry weapons, to own weapons as they see fit. End the void.
All right, Cash.
Could you just repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. Recognizing that the majority of violent crime in this state is largely isolated to a few areas of Chicago and East St. Louis, the rest of the state seems to be needlessly punished with some of the most strict gun laws in the country. Is making Illinois more friendly to gun owners something on your agenda? If so, what are your priorities?
My priorities are family. And there's a simple reason for that. In areas like the south and west sides of Chicago, in areas like rural southern Illinois, and East St. Louis, there's one common denominator that links violent crime. It links drug use. It links high school dropouts. It links welfare recipients. It links teen pregnancy. It's the absence of a father in a home. And that absence is as a result, in large part, due to the war on drugs. That is a very true statement. The war on drugs has needlessly stolen fathers from the homes of thousands and thousands of Illinois children, resulting in them struggling more mentally and emotionally, dropping out of high school, being far more likely to get pregnant as a teenager, to abuse drugs, to participate in gang activity, because they're missing the most fundamental part of their life, and that's their other parent. We have to restore the family unit. That is our focus. If we do that, the crime will come down. All of these other societal ills that we face, those numbers will reduce as well. Modern social science clearly and unequivocally says that kids need both parents. But when we're attacking these families in a war on drugs, when we're incentivizing single motherhood through the Department of Health and Human Services, we are encouraging the behavior that is resulting in all of these ill effects in these communities. We've got to get to the root of the issue. The gun is not the issue. That human being is not the issue. It's how we as a state and as a federal government are incentivizing these issues to occur, which is resulting in these young kids joining gangs, abusing drugs, killing one another. We restore families to the fullest extent that we're capable of, to lift families up, then the Second Amendment will naturally restore itself in the state of Illinois. Thank you.
John?
We better make it a friendly state for gun owners, because I'm one of them, and I'm an illegal gun owner. And it was said, I heard in the Democratic Party, that if Pritzker gets it, one of his first things he's going to do is whether this is true or not, is send the state police over to my house and ask for my unregistered guns and ask why I don't have a FOID card. And right now, I am currently the only politician in America that is openly boasting that I do not have, that I have unregistered guns in my house and I will not follow the gun laws of my state. And I'm pretty proud of that. Because I don't want any government having any list with my name on it, especially with guns. I find it funny, you know, in '98 when I ran for Congress, I only bring that up because there was 22,000 gun laws federally and locally on the rolls in the United States of America. There's about 26,000. Do you know that the cities with the most gun laws are the cities with the most crime? See, we have politicians that think that if they make guns illegal, along with John and Mary Doe turning in their guns, the gang members are going to come and, you know, turn in their guns too, because gang members follow the law. So, and Steve Dutner brought it up in a meeting, and I give him credit for it. And you want to help out the west side and the south side of Chicago? Give the residents the right to bear arms and defend themselves against the criminals. That is going to help that problem significantly. So I find it funny that we have to make this state more gun-friendly because it is the only way, historically and proven, to drop the crime rate. And I know many businesses and industries are refusing to come to this state, stay in this state, and redevelop in this state because of the ridiculous crime rate on the south and west sides of Chicago and East St. Louis. It's real simple. Open up the gun laws and get the guns back in Illinois so not just the gang members have them, citizens have them also.
All right, even though we are ahead on time, we are going to go ahead and take a 10-minute intermission at this time. So we will reconvene at 4:01. Thank you.
when we're done, once I do the closing spell, I'll just bring you back up. Is this mic on? Right. It's going well? Yes. It's going pretty well. It's going great? Yeah. We're going to start. We could slow it down a bit. What's up? Maybe do a couple questions from the audience. Yeah, I get it. Well, let's get. Someone was asking your head of schedule, there's no audience. Okay, I need somebody to get it. I got no questions. Okay.
I think this will work because this is pointed directly at that speaker.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah, we can't, for some reason we can't get this one.
Is this one on? Hi, I'm Ben with Metro East Libertarians. We are running since the schedule's going so good, I'm going to pass this around. If there's anybody that has an audience question that you'd like to submit, just put it on the notebook and then I'll collect it. And then we'll pick that up at the end.
Okay, cool. We're good.
Do you need a sound check up there still?
No, we're going to start.
Okay.
All right, we're going to get started. I'd like to invite the candidates back to the stage. I'd just like to point out for you guys, if you guys run out of water, there are 3 waters over here. I can't hardly drink them all. So
I'm freezing, Aaron. Can you turn the heat up a little?
really, it's I'm having a hard time.
Says the
looking
guy that
to
weighs
my
180
left.
pounds.
Right.
Aaron, did you say those are free?
They're not free. They'll be 0.0008 Bitcoin.
I'm going somewhere with this, you know.
Three people over here to my left. I'm not avoiding eye contact. I can't look in this direction because I'll get blinded. All right. Now to recap, what we're doing in this round is each question will be followed by a 2-minute answer. Anyone who's mentioned, if they want to take 30 seconds to respond to that, we'll grant you that. And we're going to start this next question with cash. The Mid-America St. Louis Airport has cost taxpayers over $300 million and
Failed miserably as Illinois citizens on doing. We have not upheld our end of the bargain. We elect these individuals to represent us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it in our best interest. We have to be more involved on a local level. And that's something that I encourage so many men and women to do, is that if you want to hold your elected officials accountable, you have to be present. You have to be knowledgeable about what is occurring in your state and in your community. I mean, that's asinine, but you hear this every single day. I was down in Peoria the other day for their chapter meeting, discussing a very similar issue about backdoor deals being had with the legislators. See it being done with teacher pension funds. It's throughout the state. It's rampant. Every decision made by public officials should be transparent. The Sunshine Doctrine should apply in every single meeting that these public officials attend. Everything should be captured in closed-circuit television. It should be made available to the citizens of those communities. And they should have a 2/3 referendum to ensure that the voters of that community, that that's actually what they want. Whether we're talking about their property taxes or some idiotic program to keep an airport running that's losing money. There's a lot of reform that we can do. But we must accept personal responsibility in what our role is in government. We are the fourth branch. You are the fourth branch. If you want to check your legislator, then you have to organize your fourth branch. Thank you.
All right, to John.
It's what I talked about in my first campaign commercial back in the summer. You know, the government has this methodology and solution of if something's not working, throw more money at it. If it's not working, throw more money at it even more. And my opinion is when you're in a hole, what's the first thing you stop doing is stop digging. With the St. Louis airport, it's real simple. Independent inspector. You know, you got people running the government and managing these projects that have nothing to do with building or codes or spending their own money as far as development. I find that ridiculous. I find that laughable. And what's the government's role in major infrastructure projects like this? Look, in a real world, in a perfect world, as a libertarian, I would like practically no laws and no taxes. But being a pragmatic person, I understand that we have to have some taxing and we have to have laws. But here's the thing with the libertarians, is we don't mind taxes going to things that help us in our daily lives. It's the tax money not being spent properly, not being spent wisely. The floodgates of fraud and abuse that happen, that's what bothers libertarians the most and bothers me. So this airport fiasco, throwing more money is not going to stop it. Getting the private sector airlines involved, maybe opening more gates to some airlines, discounting them, and doing stuff like that will help bring a couple more airlines back, maybe even from the Memphis area. But bottom line is, we cannot trust government regulators who know nothing about construction, who have not done it themselves, to effectively manage our money in building massive infrastructure projects like major airports and hub terminals.
All right, then to Matt.
Well, in the end, it does sound like that is a county issue. Doesn't really sound like it's a state issue. Those people are going to hopefully petition their government and say, hey, this is really stupid. We need to stop throwing money down the drain, stop wasting money on an airport that only has one airline going in and out of it. And I hope the people do that. But no, the state government should not be involved. And if they're funding it, then yes, as the governor, that is something that I would get involved in. Now, I may not be able to change the vote. And Cash is right. There should be an initiative and referendum process, but the initiative and referendum process here in the state of Illinois is fake. It's broken. That is something that needs to be reformed. But as governor, even if I can't have a say in whether they do or do not invest these funds in it, I can go down there with the bully pulpit and say, you folks are wasting your money. Stop doing it now. The big question is, are these things being funded by Illinois tax dollars? In other words, is money being stolen from your pockets and being put into some ridiculous investment like that? If that's the case, you're darn right I'm getting involved. That's a big part of what I want to do as governor, is to stop all this superfluous, ridiculous expenditure that we have in the state of Illinois. If anyone's ever taken a look at the Illinois budget, it's hundreds of pages long, and there's so many ridiculous funds that are going out. I don't know if this is part of it, and that's something that I would get to the bottom of. And if it is, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will stop it.
All right, thank you. All right, this next question, we will start with John. Property taxes in Illinois continue to increase, with 60 to 70% of property taxes going to education. The average per student cost in Illinois is already 23% higher than our neighbors in Indiana, Missouri, and Kentucky. What would you do as governor to address these high costs in public education?
I touched on it a couple of minutes ago. You have to cap real estate taxes. Capping real estate taxes are going to handcuff the school boards. You ask any regulator at the Illinois Policy Institute, any think tank, they will tell you there's only one solution with school boards. It's to stop the money that they receive. It's just that simple. Right now, your house, taxes on your house, based on a guess, not based on a mathematical equation. House in Aurora, Illinois, sold for $350,000. 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. $8,700 in taxes. $350,000 house sold in Aurora, Colorado. $822 in taxes. $22,000 is spent on each child in public education in Illinois. Private school, they're spending around $14,000. The school administrations, the money's not going to the teachers, it's not going to the faculty, it's not going to the schools, it's going to mostly to the administrations. And when we do talk about school teachers, I think they are hardworking and effective and a vital part of our state. As libertarians, we expect everyone to stand on their own 2 feet. The greatest way you can get somebody to stand on their own 2 feet is to educate them, right? However, I don't think a gym teacher in my school district, who I went to high school with, should make $133,000 a year. I mean, the math doesn't add up. $133,000 a year. And when he retires, we're going to pay him 84% of his salary. So, folks, we know what the problem is. We have to cap real estate taxes at 1%. Take away the money from the administrations. You are going to put handcuffs on them. They are going to solve the problems, and we are going to bring our pension problem, especially with our teachers, down and solve our budget. But you've got to handcuff the school districts, and you do that with a 1% sales real estate tax cap.
All right, Matt.
Aaron, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question once again?
Yes, sir. Property taxes in Illinois continue to increase, with 60 to 70% of property taxes going to education. The average per student cost in Illinois is already 23% higher than our neighbors in Indiana, Missouri, and Kentucky. What would you do as governor to address these high costs in public education?
Well, first and foremost, the first part of that question is talking about property taxes, and that's a huge problem in the state of Illinois. John and I agree on this issue. A 1% property tax cap is exactly what is needed. That's what they have in Indiana, and if we want to be competitive, that's what we're going to need to do as well. That is the only way that we are going to stop the outbound migration of people and businesses from the state of Illinois to all of our neighboring states. Now, Illinois has some of the highest property taxes in the entire nation. In fact, we do have the highest property taxes in the entire nation, save for one very, very small portion of New Jersey. In some areas, it's up to 3% of the property value. You think about that, the property value, you're paying 3% annually. Over 20 years, you're paying for your property twice over in property taxes. And our property taxes are a very large part of how we fund our government youth propaganda camps. So if we're going to fund our government youth propaganda camps properly, we need to address that, right? So in certain districts, like in East St. Louis, over 80% of their funding comes from the state. It's only about 20% that actually comes from property taxes because they're property tax poor. The school districts in Illinois need to be minimized. As I said earlier, we have almost 800 different school districts. We can consolidate that. We can cut that in half. If we do that, we can focus those funds more towards the students than from the administrations. And I believe that it's about $14,000 per student. I don't mean to correct you, John. I think it's about $14,000 per student that we're paying in the state of Illinois. You're absolutely right. That's higher than almost anyone around here. And if we don't correct that, if we don't look at the way that we're funding these things, then we're going to have a school system that is even more broken than it already is today.
You're correct. It's $22,000 for special education children.
It's actually $14,482 per student. If we want to get technical about it. We have, between the years of 2000 and 2015, we have more than doubled what we've taken in property taxes. In a 15-year time frame, we've doubled that. Illinois income has only grown by 31% in that same time frame. The average Illinois property tax is $4,000. In 2009, I purchased a home in Lake County, Illinois. Purchased it for about $285,000. My taxes that year were $4,500. By the time I sold it in 2015, they had nearly doubled to $9,000. It's a great step in the right direction to cap real estate taxes. But that's only going to take us so far. Because it's a game of chess. What comes next? Teachers' unions go on strike. They hold us hostage. They hold you, the taxpayer, hostage. Because we are the only state in this region that allows, and is completely legal, for the public sector to go on strike and hold us, the taxpayer, hostage to where you can't go to work. Your children can't go to school. You have to figure out what it is that you're going to be able to do with your children that day so that you can stay employed and keep your job and keep paying the ridiculous property taxes. And it's a vicious cycle that we're caught in. We have to put the power back in the hands of the people, remove it from the hands of the special interest groups, freeze property taxes, roll those property taxes back, make it illegal for these teachers to go on strike and to hold us hostage. I'm all about a fair and equitable wage. But when Karen Lewis from the Chicago Teachers Union says that the Chicago public school system, the teachers only paying 2% of their 9%, and the taxpayers are picking up the other 7%, and that if asking them to pay their fair share, they're going to go on strike, that's reprehensible. We have to address that. Thank you.
30-second rebuttal. Yeah.
Remember when I talked about Karen Lewis and having a meeting with her in February? It's not happening anymore. Oh well. After she heard my views. Matt was right. You're going to pay for your house 3 times over in real estate taxes. Do you know what the highest real estate taxes are in regards to the value of the home? Fort Heights. The poorest, one of the most poorest areas of Illinois. Those people are paying the highest taxes. Once again, the state of Illinois de-incentivizing wealth creation. And we want, as libertarians, people to stand on their feet. How do we expect people to stand on their feet when we're taxing their house more than somebody like Rauner and Pritzker living on the North Shore of Illinois?
All right, thank you. Next question, we will start with Matt. Speaking of Chicago, Chicago public schools have been bailed out yet again, and Southern Illinoisans are furious about their tax dollars being funneled into a failed school system so far away. How could you protect the taxpayers in various regions of this state from bad actors in another region?
Well, number one, I couldn't agree with you more. This new budget absolutely did that. It is a bailout for Chicago public schools, and it's absolutely wrong. And here's the argument, by the way. What the Chicago school teachers are saying is that for years and years and years, they've been paying for the teachers' pension fund all across the state of Illinois. Now, why shouldn't they pay for the Chicago teachers' pension, right? The Chicago teachers' pension was very well funded for quite a long time, but now it's not. And now they need us to bail them out. And that's exactly what happened in this new budget. Now, I did like some parts of the budget. I did like the tax credit scholarships. I do think that that's a brand new way of looking at education in the state of Illinois. That was about the only good part. It's absolutely wrong that we're asking you to bail out Chicago once again. You've bailed out Chicago so many times. So many times. Again and again and again. And Chicago should have no problem funding their own pensions. Chicago is one of the most rich, affluent cities in the entire United States. Why are we having problems with our budget? It's because we have socialists running the state and the city. That's the problem. And that's what we need to fix. So yes, absolutely. If there were ever to be another budget that were to pass my desk, which says that we are going to fund more malinvestment from the city of Chicago as governor, I would veto it, or at least a mandatory veto it. And I'd say, hey, listen, this is not fair to the people across the rest of the state of Illinois. We need to change that. And as governor, that is something that I will champion. I will stand for people all across the state of Illinois. I know people in the South are tired of hearing some slick-talking Chicago boy come and run for governor. Well, let me tell you, I hear you, and I stand for you. And I will stand for you if you nominate me and you elect me. Thank you.
All right, Cash.
It is absurd. And I think to fix the funding in the Chicago public school system, it's relatively simple. Number one, I have a pipe wrench and I can fix J.B. Pritzker's toilet for him so it's not a condemned property and he pays his fair share of property tax. Number two is the fact that teachers are not paying their fair share in that system. They're placing it on the back of the taxpayers there and throughout the rest of the state. I think it was in 2015, Chicago public school systems picked up 7% of the 9% that the teachers were required to pay by law, to the tune of about $130 million. Another $40 million went to other employees of the Chicago public school system. because they're only paying about 1.5% of their required 7%. Again, asking the taxpayers to foot the bill. And their argument, Karen Lewis's argument, is based upon negotiations from 1981. When only approximately 300 of 30,000 teachers at that time, only approximately 300 are still employed currently today. Those negotiations have to go. We have to renegotiate the wages and the pensions for these teachers. And we need to shift to a 401k style. Get off the defined pension plan, period. We have to dump it. It's old news. I don't know why we're still rehashing this. Open it up to all state employees. I know we can't mandate it. We have a constitutional constraint there. But we can open it up to all state employees. Let some of these teachers who are intelligent, and I think the vast majority of them are, and see that their defined pension plans may not be there when they get ready to retire, and allow them to put their money into something that's mobile. And when they're tired of Illinois, and I hate it for them, but I don't blame them, but when they leave the state, they can at least take that pension with them, and it's not a loss. There's a lot that we can do. It's common sense approaches. Thank you.
All right, John.
Couple of things. Put the Chicago School Board into receivership. And as the managing trustees of the Chicago School Board, I say that we get, and I'm completely, I don't say this as a joke. I say we get a contingency of downstate legislatures to manage the Chicago School Board. Because I'd love to see the farmer that I know from Pekin. And I'd love to see the factory worker from Carbondale. And the managing Caterpillar plant. I'd love to see people like that come up here and manage the Chicago School Board. That is the only way it's going to happen. I don't want outside regulators. I want people from our state, legislators from downstate, handpicked to run the Chicago School Board. A teacher in the Chicago schools will pay about $130,000, $140,000 in lifetime contributions. We'll get back $2 million. You can just do back of the envelope math and tell yourself, hey, that doesn't work. The pension problem is because we negotiated the pensions at 12 to 13% ROI, return on investment in the stock market. Only a sane person on Wall Street would tell you 3 to 4% is even pie in the sky. So unless they want a pension that's going to go bankrupt and rioting in the street, literally and metaphorically, we are going to have to renegotiate those pensions. And something that your former gubernatorial candidate, Chad Grimm, said in his campaign, and I think it's one of the only solutions now. No more pensions. You work for the state, you're a teacher for the state, you're on a 401k, and we get an outside insurance company to manage that 401k, not the state of Illinois, because they've proven they cannot manage your money and my money.
All right, thank you. This next question, start with Cash. Illinois is the 4th largest domestic producer of coal. A majority of these production mines are located in southern Illinois and are a primary employment source for many small town communities. With the current environmental regulatory climate, what is your vision for the future of this and other southern Illinois industries?
You know, whenever we begin to shut down coal mines, it's an unfortunate reality when two different opposing forces clash between the concern for our environment and nature and that of ensuring that Illinois citizens have jobs. And it's a moral dilemma that as an elected official you're placed in. Unfortunately, what also happens is that legislators begin to cater, again, to special interest groups. And their concern isn't jobs. When they say, you know, you're against, you don't want these men and women to have jobs. You're anti-job, you're anti-worker. Is it? Or is it the fact that I want your children to grow up healthy and safe and to prosper? But they can't do that if they're struggling with some type of disease, if they have cancer. As an elected official, as a governor, I have a job to do, and it's to protect those people. That is the role of government, is to protect your rights and your health and your safety. And so I have a responsibility that if coal gets shut down, for whatever reason, if it's environmental restrictions or otherwise, I have a responsibility to look to other agriculture other ways of bringing in jobs and ensuring that those men and women of those communities have the opportunity to train and be educated and to continue to fulfill a livelihood and to prosper for them and their families. But we do that going to those communities, having sit down. It's not just, we're going to close the coal mines and you're going to lose your jobs. And sorry, you got to figure it out. That's irresponsible leadership. A responsible leader cares about every man, woman, and child. And they go to that community and they say, look, this is probably going to happen, but what can we do to ensure that you and your families are taken care of? Let's bring industry here. You have to have some foresight before you ever do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. To John.
I'm not talking about coal in 1890. I'm talking about coal in 2017. Coal is clean, it's safe, and it brings jobs, bottom line. It's the easiest sell job in the state of Illinois when it's coal or nuclear. I would tell them, look at Fukushima in Tokyo, and the Tokyo Power Company. Sat on a fault line, an earthquake happened, and it's dumping probably 30 billion gallons of cesium-114 in the Pacific Ocean. In my opinion, close to an extinction level event as far as the Pacific Ocean. So tell me about nuclear energy and how clean and how safe it is. Our state, and especially Memphis, St. Louis, is on the New Madrid fault line. And this is not tinfoil theory and conspiracy. This is the God's honest fact. We're on the largest fault line in the world. It's called the New Madrid fault line. It's about 110 years overdue from erupting. Last time it erupted and there was an earthquake, church bells rang in Virginia. So I don't know if I want any more nuclear power plants in a state that could end up like Fukushima. We need to keep coal here. Again, it's clean, it's safe, it brings jobs. And as a governor, I'm going to keep coal in the state of Illinois. I can promise you that.
All right, Matt.
Coal is a massive industry for the state of Illinois. It's one of our greatest resources, and we don't talk about it enough. And yes, a lot of coal mines are getting shut down today. And why is that? Well, some of it's market demand and some of it's the EPA. We have an overbearing regulatory body that wants to tell coal miners and coal producers how they should operate their business. Furthermore, almost every power plant down here in southern Illinois is running on coal. I bet you that these lights, the power that's powering these lights right now is running on coal. Down in Granite City, they make steel. You know how they often heat that steel up? They use what's called coke. Coke's made from coal, similar to charcoal if you would, but from coal. But there's not nearly the amount of demand from steel because now we're getting it from China, and it's just so much cheaper from China. And why is this? It's protectionist policies, it's tariffs, it's regulations. We need to get the government out. Allow the free market to choose. Coal miners and people working in the coal industry don't want to hurt their community. Of course not. They want to help the people. They want to have jobs for these people. And I have to disagree with Cash. If we take away these coal jobs, it's not really fair to say to these people, hey, now you're going to be a farmer. They've been a coal miner for 20 years. And what are we going to do? What is this program where we come in and we help them adjust? Sounds like another excuse to use bad government funds, in my opinion. Let's just get the government out and let's see how it works out, right? I think that people are still ready to use coal. I think for a long time they'll be ready to use coal, and it's one of the greatest natural resources in Illinois. Let the free market choose. Thank you.
I get 30 seconds.
Right. 30 seconds.
I'm definitely not against coal, and I'm not against coal miners and their families. But technology and innovation happens, and when technology and innovation happens, we relearn. We learn new skill sets. When jobs die out as a result of us progressing because of our inherent nature to make things more efficient and more effective, when we do that, we must adapt to that. And there is a responsibility upon us. Not just as a government, but just as people to take care of one another. Thank you.
All right. We also have overdue rebuttals from J.D. Pritzker, Chad Grimm, the Socialists, and somebody else. But seeing they're not in attendance, we're going to move on.
Jeff Sessions.
Jeff Sessions is another caller as well. All right, this next question, we're going to start with John. It is estimated that the state LP will need to collect 50,000 signatures to get on the ballot this election, requiring a monumental effort by volunteers and significant financial investment by the national party. This does include the additional effort, this does not include the additional effort to get down-ticket candidates across the state on the ballot. How do you plan to aid in this effort?
Again, walking my talk. 1998, 2006, my congressional races. John Stewart, his wife, my father and mother, is now deceased, a couple of my friends. My first congressional race, I collected about 3,900 signatures. I only needed 1,200. When I ran for state rep in 1998, I hired about 4 homeless people. We collected about 2,700 signatures. I needed 800. And in 2006, when I ran for Congress, the Stewart Coalition collected I think, just under 3,000 signatures. I've proven that I can do it. I will do it. Have done it. And I will find the money. I have told everyone that I have not collected or accepted any contributions until I am a candidate. I don't say that to hold up the party. I'm telling people that if I am blessed with being the candidate for this party for governor, I think in all total I'm probably going to have $20,000 to put towards signature collections, and I will do that. Because we're going to need 50,000 signatures. Look, there was just a little blurb a week ago on the internet. Bruce Rauner's biggest headache in the campaign, the wrestler, Jon Stewart. So he knows that. I know what he did with Chad Grimm. I know what he's going to do if you choose me. That is my only drawback, is that I will bring the fire and the fury of the Republican Party because I broke off for them, and they know that I'm trouble. So we're going to need 50,000 signatures, there's no doubt about it. I've collected a lot of my own. I think it's great that Matt collected 1,600. But I've done more than that, and I will do more than that. I'm not running for a local election. I'm running for a statewide government. And I will bring in my army and my campaign and people and my volunteers. And we'll get a whole lot more than 3,500 signatures. And I plan, that's one of my biggest initiatives, is to have a really active role in helping everyone, get myself and everyone downstate on the ticket and on the ballot.
Matt?
So I think you said that we're going to need like 50,000 petition signatures. That's incorrect, guys.
We need 20. I said we need double what we need.
I'm not talking about you, John. I'm talking about what he said. 50,000 petition signatures will not get it for us. We need 100,000. This election is massive, guys. I cannot put this into perspective enough. We have billionaires going against us. Also, if we get each member of the state party to just commit to 35 signatures, that's it. Every one of the state members commits to 35 signatures, we get over 100,000 petition signatures. And I think that's what we need. Because I'll tell you right now, folks, if you nominate me, and J.B. Pritzker and Bruce Rauner know they're going to have to debate me, they're going to empty their coffers to stop me, all right? Because they know that I will verbally dismantle them on a stage. Way worse than I'm doing to these two right now. You have to do everything you can to make sure that we get on that ballot. And I will do my part. As I said in my opening speech, I will pledge 1,500, bare minimum. Bare minimum. I know that Ryan Mahoney is working real hard right now. He's got precinct committee men. I think he's asking for 200 to 300 apiece. And that's a good start, and I know that a lot of you are going to do a lot more. We need to grow a grassroots effort. And I'd like to see it come from the state of Illinois Libertarian Party members. If we have to, yeah, let's go out and hire some people. Let's go out and kill it. But I like those funds being spent towards making sure that we get in the debates. I like those funds being spent towards advertising and marketing and teaching people about the Libertarian Party swag. I'd rather not have to buy those signatures if we can. But if that's what it takes, that's what it's going to take. So let's save the Libertarian Party some money. Why don't everyone who's watching this right now, if you're a member of the Libertarian Party, say to yourself a number right now in your head. Say, this is what I'm going to do for the party. This is what I'm going to commit. I know I only have, 10 weeks to do it? If we all put our heads together, if we all go out there and bust our butts, we can get this done and we can ensure that we're on that ballot. And I hope you do.
All right, to catch.
So we need 25,000 to be safe. We want to get 50,000. It's a big number, but it's definitely feasible. But to do so is going to require, and I agree with Matt here, every single person of this party. Everybody. Every single one of you has if you're committed to this party, if you're committed to change, then you get involved. You don't sit in your seat, you don't sit at home and you say to yourself, wow, I wonder how Matt, Cash, or John are doing getting those petition signatures today. I hate that we're spending all of our money to get petition signatures. No. You're out there and you're involved. But I wouldn't ask you to do it if I wouldn't do it myself. And I've already been demonstrating over the past year that I'll do that. I went to East Dundee and collected somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 to 125 signatures just to repeal the trash tax in their home rule. I went over to McLean County and gathered, I think, about 30 signatures for them the other day to get rid of their Board of Elections in Bloomington. I will lead from the front. That's what leaders do. I'm not going to place it upon you. The burden is upon me. And the burden is upon me to show you how to do it and to be alongside you, day in and day out, grinding, marching up and down those roads, getting those petition signatures. I have the ability, I have the wherewithal, I have the endurance, but I can't do it without every single one of you. You have to be inspired, you have to be motivated, you've got to be dedicated enough to say, you know what, I'm not hitting the alarm, I'm not hitting the snooze button, I'm getting up with Cash Jackson, we're going to go out here and we're going to get some damn petition signatures today. I'll do it with you, but I can't do it on my own. Thank you.
All right. This is the last two. Were you mentioned? Was I sleeping? Okay. Go ahead.
He might be right. I mean, choose John Stewart as your candidate, it might take 100,000 signatures. As far as getting into the debates, you can't pay your way into the debates. And I'm not tech, I'm just saying. You know, if the Women's League of Greater Chicago is managing the debates, they are going to have a poll and a survey to figure out who's polling. If your Libertarian candidate has not been in the media and not in the news, he's not going to poll. The only person that's going to poll is the person that's been in the media, and that's me. And that's how you get into the debates. And that's how we win the governor's race.
That's wrong, too.
And it's the League of Women Voters.
Okay. This is the final prepared question before we go to audience questions. So again, this will be a 2-minute question, and we will start with Matt. In 2017, we saw the popularity of cryptocurrencies rise and become a growing player in the economy. Expectedly, governments, including other state governments, have begun contemplating regulating cryptocurrencies. Would you consider such actions in Illinois? Would you consider allowing the payment of state taxes in cryptocurrencies?
Regulating cryptocurrency? Good luck. I know the government would love to get their hands into Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin and Dogecoin and all of them, but I don't think they're going to have any chance in heck doing that. There's no way. If you understand the blockchain, it's just not going to happen. As far as paying your taxes in Bitcoin, well, number one, I don't think people should have to pay income tax, obviously. And no, I don't necessarily think that they should pay in Bitcoin. Obviously, everything is used in US dollars, and I believe that even that's wrong. I think Article 1 of the Constitution says that only gold and silver should be coined as legal tender for payment of debts. So really, if people are going to pay taxes in anything, they should be paying in gold and silver. You know, cryptocurrency is interesting. I remember having this discussion with Kent McMillan when he was running, and he had proposed making Bitcoin possibly the reserve currency. And I'm opposed to that. And I'll just explain why. It's because of what's in the Constitution, and because I don't think that Bitcoin is truly anonymous, as people say. The ledgers will show absolutely everything, everywhere, every wallet that it's ever been transferred to. I have a friend, not me, IRS, but a friend who bought a bunch of Bitcoin at under $300, and then he sold it at $1,500, and he's really beating himself up right now. But, you know, that's still not a bad return. Who could have seen that it was going to go up this high? Cryptocurrency is interesting. I don't have a whole lot of faith in it, though. I'll be honest with you. It's backed by nothing. I like things that I can touch that are shiny. Those are the things that I like, and that's what I think should be money in the state of Illinois. Thank you.
All right, Catch.
In the Fed. I don't know what to tell you about cryptocurrency because I don't invest into it. It's an interesting idea, and the idea of these blockchain currencies and the ability for it to be unregulated is very appealing. But I believe it can also be very dangerous, simply because it's so cryptic. There's not enough known about it. And I would really have to educate myself further a lot more about cryptocurrency. I couldn't honestly sit up here and speak to you intelligently about cryptocurrency and whether or not we should use it to pay any taxes. I don't know. That's something I'll have to look into. It's an interesting concept. If we have the ability to do that, well then certainly. Why not? But it's not backed by anything nothing that I'm aware of. So exactly how that would be utilized, I don't entirely know. These are for people that are way smarter than me. I would have to sit down with Claire Ball, our future comptroller, and maybe her and Brian Lambert and Matt could educate me. So, thank you.
All right, to John.
Well, I'm going to make you people cry in about a minute. Last February, my buyer for my car dealership calls me, Walter, I'm going to give you a website, and you're going to go on and you're going to buy Ripple and Ethereum. I go on TD Ameritrade. Ripple? There's no Ripple. No, it's a cryptocurrency. It was $1. It was $1. It was $900 a couple weeks ago. So that was my chance of being a millionaire in cryptocurrency. But the whole point of cryptocurrency, it's the most libertarian thing in the world. It is unregulated. It is risky. But as libertarians, that's your own problem, your own fault, your own risk. The government can't touch it. It should be libertarian currency. That's the whole point of it. If it's too risky for you, don't do it. But to have it regulated by the government, I don't even know what I bought. I bought Ripple 2 weeks ago. On a different platform, Coinbase. Then you got to transfer it over to Ethereum and buy Ripple. I mean, it's crazy. But I took the risk. And if he wants to buy my Ripple, that's his problem or his risk, not the government. It's the most libertarian thing that we have. And it is scary, and it is risky, but that's what we signed up for as libertarians, didn't we? Taking it as payment. If you take in payment in Ethereum's at $900, and you take it in to pay a $900 property tax bill, and Ethereum drops down to $700, the state of Illinois just lost $200 on that tax bill. So I don't want to use it as payment, but between transactions between people around the world, absolutely. And I don't want it regulated. And it won't be regulated, I promise. And I'm proud of it because it is the most libertarian form of currency that has ever been invented in the past 40, 50 years.
Just a quick comment. Most alternative cryptocurrencies are purchased with Bitcoin. Ripple is owned by the central banking system. Most people are buying Ripple with Bitcoin. Do not trade your hard-earned Bitcoin and give it to our malevolent overlords that we call the Federal Reserve.
You can buy Ripple. You can buy Ripple with Ethereum. That's what I bought it with.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. We are going to move on to the last section here where we're going to take audience questions. Ben, do you have audience questions? All right. So this first question will go to Catch. We're going to go. Let's go with 1 minute on these. We're going to breeze through these. We have what time do we have? We got about 15 minutes to do this. Okay. Catch. Libertarians are often criticized for promoting private charity over tax-funded welfare, but not contributing to charity. What have you personally done for charity? And as governor, how would you encourage Illinois residents to give more to charity?
Wow, that's a kind of a sensitive topic, to be honest with you. At one time, my ex-wife was tithing to the church over $1,000 a month, and I was living homeless in Washington State while she was doing so. Was that charitable? I don't think so. But have I been very charitable? Yeah, I think that I have. I've built wheelchairs for the homeless and helped to send those down to Mexico. I've built playgrounds. I have fed the homeless. I have, in fact, a few weeks ago, I was sleeping out on the streets in Chicago to raise awareness for homeless veterans. We do have a duty and a responsibility to our fellow man. And we must do that by setting that example, by doing it first, putting your money where your mouth is. Democrats do something similar about, well, bring in refugees, bring in refugees. Okay, well, open your home up to them first. That's okay. I don't mind. We should be charitable in giving to our fellow man. And we should set a responsibility to do that. I think that the private sector can do it far better than the government. Thank you.
All right, John.
Prove a charity. Again, another example of walking my talk. My car dealership. We've hired 5 homeless people. One of the homeless people was living in his car. He's managing an auto parts distributorship. Just got married last month. I've hired reformed gang members. That's walking your talk. That's putting your money. You tell me anybody in the state legislature that takes their own money to hire homeless people. I have fed the homeless countless times as a member in high school and in college and on my own. My daughters and I make sandwiches and we go down to Lower Wacker Drive and feed the homeless, but we don't do it at Thanksgiving time when everyone else is doing it. We do it in July. And I don't post it on Facebook that we did it. That's not charity. And I disagree completely that libertarians are not charitable. I've never seen more people in a group of people give more time and more of themselves for a cause than I have with this party. And I'm proud to be a member of your party. Because I think charity starts at giving of your time, not of your money.
Matt?
Every day I try to do one good deed. And the caveat is that I don't tell anyone about it. If you've ever looked back at my Facebook feed, you never see me posting pictures about any charitable actions. Honestly, I don't think that charity should be done so that we get a pat on the back for it. And I'm sure as heck not doing charity so that I win your nomination. That's not why I do it. If I do it, you don't know if I do it. But we as libertarians, I believe that we care about people more than any other party. And that's such a horrible misconception to say that we don't care about the poor. It's our belief that the private sector can handle it better, that the government is not the best to institute these types of programs. And there's just one thing I want to point out. If the government takes your money in the form of taxation, those are each one less dollar that you have the ability to donate towards charity if you wanted to. They have stolen your altruistic ability.
All right. So I do want to apologize to everyone in the audience that doesn't get their question read. And I want to apologize to Kansas. I didn't know that question was going to get so personal at the end there. Okay. This next question, we are going to start with John. Do you support term limits? Why or why not?
I've supported it since '97. I think it is one of the most vital resources that we have to a better and more effective government, a government that does more with less. The Founding Fathers did not create our Constitution and our system of government for career politicians. They created it simply for the farmer to come and bring what he knows from the market into the legislature and then go back to his or her position. And we've completely lost that with career politicians. And it is, in my opinion, one of the single reasons why the country is in the condition that it is in, and why the state of Illinois, well, I know Mike Madigan, he's in his infancy as far as our speaker. He's only been there, what, 35, 36 years? It's ridiculous. What does he know about the real world? What does he know about running a company or what's happening on Main Street? He doesn't. So since '97, I've called for term limits. It is the single most effective resource that us as voters can use to help our government become more effective and do more with less. Absolutely.
Matt?
Yeah, I do support term limits. It's actually one of my main issues. It's something I talk about on my website. I think that if we don't have term limits, we have politicians who sit in office and all they think about is getting reelected, as opposed to doing what's best for the citizens of the state. So I want their focus to be on you, on the taxpayers, on how they can help us, not about how they can keep their seat. John's right. Michael Madigan has been a politician longer than I've been alive. Michael Madigan is a parasite. We need to get rid of Michael Madigan. And if you put me in office, I'm going to go to war with the guy. So I hope you do elect me.
All right. Cash?
Yes, Mike Madigan. That's really all that you need to know. Obviously, we need term limits. We have to have them. We have to de-incentivize what it is to be an elected official. I think part of that will also, what begins with that is getting rid of the incentives through pensions and retirements for them. You don't need to retire as a legislator. If you have the ability to retire, you have an incentive to stay in power. You have something to gain from that. To retain power and authority for a monetary benefit at the end. Get rid of it. If they do serve, if I serve 4 years, 8 years, well then if I go and work for the state for 20 years, then I can retire. But not as a legislator. Institute term limits and institute them now. Thank you.
All right. And this next question, we will begin with Matt. Do you support legalization of sports gambling in Illinois.
Oh, I support all gambling in Illinois. Absolutely. Look, I'm not trying to bash you, John, but the one thing I've heard you say time and time again is that you want to start 5 casinos. I think anyone should be able to start a casino. If you want to have a card game in your basement, go right on ahead. I see no problem with that. Again, it's the oxymoron, victimless crime. Really, the word we should be using are non-crimes. No one gets hurt. These are voluntary interactions. People are choosing to go and gamble if they want to. Yes, of course, let them bet on sports if they like. Who cares? You can't regulate stupidity.
All right, Cash.
I think it was in Lake County. I saw an article recently where oh God, I don't even know the name of the committee, the regulation that regulates the gaming authority, right? They wanted to go after those vicious, the vicious and violent bingo players up there in Lake County. And I'm like, I'm not really reading this, am I? Absolutely not. That is absolutely stupid. And I would offer to prove that I'm all for gambling, that should be one of our first fundraisers before March 3rd. We should all have a gigantic cage match, and all of the Libertarians should be able to place their bets right there inside the convention.
I'm game for that.
Yeah.
I just spent $90,000 to fix my back. I can't get back in the ring.
I win.
Blue Cross.
You don't win, Cash. Careful what you wish for, my friend.
I'm done.
All right, John.
Matt looks pretty cagey. You weren't bashing me at all. Me telling everyone about my 5 casinos, that's not me regulating them. That's me standing back as governor and saying, if the private sector wants to come in, I think there's about 5 areas we can put more casinos in. Private sector wants to do it, come on in. Gambling across the board. Your basement, your backyard, your bingo parlor, your casino. Again, one of the jewels in the crown of fixing the budget. Getting money flowing back into the state. Absolutely.
All right, this is going to be our last audience question. We're going to start with Cash. I love this question, whoever wrote this. Beyond being right on the issues, how do you specifically appeal to the general population to have a chance to win this election?
Being transparent, being an authentic individual, somebody that can relate to the average voter. We hear politicians talk about it all the time. Let's get real. Bruce Rauner doesn't. He's not going to be able to relate to anybody. Not the general voting base. Neither's J.B. Pritzker. The 3 men standing before you can. I have the ability to. I know that I can. If I can go out to Standing Rock, North Dakota, and fit in just fine with thousands of Native Americans, I can do it anywhere. There's nothing that I cannot do and that I cannot achieve. I'm just honest. I try and be humble. Try and learn from people. Sit down and listen to them and what their concerns are. And I can relate to them on so many personal levels because I grew up in poverty. I was in the military. I have been poor. I have been persecuted by the government of Illinois. I have the ability to reach people. Thank you.
All right, John.
I said it at the beginning, I'm going to say it at the end. I live my libertarianism every day, and I walk my talk on the issues. What does every voter in the state say? What does that guy know? What does that politician know about the issues? Why does Jon Stewart care about real estate taxes? Because I own a home and I own commercial real estate. I have skin in the game. What does Jon Stewart care about government regulations? Because I own a small business. And my dad and I have a noose around our neck from the state of Illinois every time we walk into work of all the paperwork they expect from us. What does Jon Stewart care about? Gun registration. It's because I own guns. And I refuse to register them. And I am in the trenches with the people every day as a small business person, as a father, as a taxpayer, as a real estate owner. There is not one person on this stage who has more skin in the game and more issues that are facing the state than Jon Stewart. And you know that. And the media knows that. And when the media asks me about myself, I am going to tell them about all of you. I promise you that.
Matt.
Why libertarians should support me is because I have studied the policies and the problems of Illinois more than any of these other candidates standing up here today. I understand what needs to be done. I am by far the most libertarian, and I want this more than anyone else, in either of the other 2 major parties as well. I think that in the general election, people will choose me because I speak power to truth. I speak truth to power. I'm going to talk about freedom. I'm going to talk about libertarianism. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire, obviously, like J.B. Pritzker and Bruce Rauner. And I think that people are going to recognize that. I think that people are going to see the truth in what I have to say. And I think that people are ready for a different solution for the state of Illinois. So I hope you choose me on March 3rd. And if you do, let's go get 5%.
All right, so this will be the final portion of this debate. We are going to do 90-second closing statements. And we will start with John. You're ready.
I have a special request to Matt and Cash and to you, Aaron. This is my last race, my last campaign. This is the last time I'll ever be on stage in a primary debate. Wonder if I could have maybe just a little bit extra time, a minute or so, if you would grant me that. I appreciate it. I just want to say that this is it. It's been a pleasure for the past year going around the state, representing the libertarian values, meeting everyone in all the chapters. I thought as a politician that I would change people and change the state of Illinois. And what I found out, especially in this election, is that I've been changed. I've been changed by the people in the state, but more importantly, I've been changed by you, all of you. You made me a better person. You made me a better father, a better business person. You made me a better citizen. You really have. Because anytime you ask a politician to re-examine the issues and ask them deep inside of themselves of what they really stand for, you come out as the politician finding out what you really stand for. And I owe all of you a debt of gratitude for that. And this whole experience has been humbling to the core. I've talked about my libertarianism journey. I think people misread me. When I say about the journey, I don't mean that being a libertarian is hard. I meant the journey of getting away from the two other parties, the abusive relationship. And libertarianism to me, is that white light at the long, dark end of the tunnel. And the journey is getting away from the Republican Party and becoming a libertarian. And it's been a humbling experience, and it's been one of the best experiences of my life. I only ask, if I am not your candidate, that all of you here and all of the people listening at home do me one favor. And that in the coming months and years, being a libertarian and fighting the good fight, that you never, ever, ever get discouraged or worrying about failure. Because I can tell you, at being 50 years of age, doing a lot of things with my life, and especially in politics, that sometimes when we lose or we have a defeat, we think that it's the end, but it's not. It's just the beginning. And I just want to say at the end that only if you have dared to walk in the deepest valleys can you ever truly know how magnificent life can be when you're on stage with people like this and you're sitting on top of the highest mountain. I just want to say thank you very much for everything. I hope I'm your candidate, but if I'm not, it's been a privilege representing you around the state. Thank you.
All right. Matt.
Well, I sure hope it shows, but I'm having a ton of fun up here, guys. I've been doing this for almost a year now, and I've enjoyed this entire process. A year of my life. And a lot of money, too. But you know what? That was an investment. That was an investment in myself and in this party. And if I can walk away from this and know that I changed a few hearts and minds and made people believe in freedom and maybe join the Libertarian Party, then I'm a success. There's no way I could fail here. There's no possible way. I remember taking the train up here yesterday, and I was just thinking to myself how grateful I am, how blessed I am for all the gifts in my life, to have so many people supporting me. This is going to be a heck of a journey, guys. If you nominate me in March 3rd, I'm going to double down, and then I'm going to triple down. Let's go break some records.
All right, Cash.
If you're a libertarian, raise your hand. If you're a proud damn libertarian, get on your feet. Let's go, stand up. This is the only way that Cash Jackson will succeed in 2018. This is the only way that the Libertarian Party will succeed in 2018. It is every single one of you getting on your 2 feet, standing up and standing alongside me or one of these men right here. It is every single one of us that will bring change to Illinois. I'm a proud damn libertarian. I'm a proud American. I'm a fighter. I've got more energy and gumption about me than 99% of the populace. I'm not afraid of one damn thing. I take that back. There is one thing. That I didn't give you my all. And I promise you one thing. I will never, ever have to deal with that fear because I will give you 110% of Cash Damn Jackson in 2018. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I want to turn everything back over to Mark. He's going to get us closed out. So, all right.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Cash, John, and Matt for coming. It was definitely a pleasure to have you guys down here. Thank you all for coming out. This, again, is an opportunity for all of us to see that we do have other choices besides the Democrats or the Republicans. We've heard from 3 magnificent candidates on their plans and ideas on what they're going to do for the state if they become the Libertarian nomination for governor, and if they get elected governor, which I hope they do. With that, I'm not going to keep up too much of your guys' time. Definitely follow up on some themes here of petitioning. We are going to need everyone's help. Your local chapters are going to need everyone's help. Contact your local chapter chairs. Get a hold of somebody that is a libertarian if you are not already a libertarian. If you are a libertarian, go out, invite 5 friends who aren't libertarians, bring them to a meeting, preferably get them signed up to be precinct committeemen, and let's get these signatures. Again, gentlemen, thank you.